I'm here tonight with Catrin Atkins, who is going to be talking about how she overcame imposter syndrome. Now, just doing a quick intro to Catrin. So she is from Sonix Software, where she's a director. She runs Geeker Girl Coaching as well, and she also runs Women in Tech for Wales, which I've realised I've forgotten to ask her exactly how I pronounce it, but is it Cymru?
Cymru, yeah.
I always get it wrong anyway, and yeah, so brilliant. So she runs the Women in Tech for across the Wales and founded Women in Tech across Wales. So that's some amazing stuff going on, but it hasn't always been quite as kind of out there as she is now. So when I spoke to Catrin, I found it really interesting, just kind of uncovering her story and how she's got to where she has. And I thought it would be a perfect interview to do. So really, what I also wanted to say start with is, for anyone who's watching on replay, please do add comments, ask questions. We'll both be checking back in and coming back to it. And if you've got any questions while we're live, and I'm waiting for some people to turn up as well at the same time, but if you've got any questions, then please do ask them, and we will be kind of putting Catrin on the spot a little bit, but not too much, and kind of exploring those. We won't necessarily pick them up straight away because they take a bit of time to come through, but that's kind of, we will be looking at what you ask. So please do ask questions, comment, and go for that. So the first thing I wanted to ask you, Catrin, is if you could tell us about what got you into the world of tech, because I know you weren't in the world of tech to start with. So I just wondered if you could tell us about how you got in there and what encouraged you to make the move.
So yeah, you're completely right. I'm 41. I think that 41 years of age, and for most of my career, if you like, I have been I've been doing admin. I've done a bit of media for a few years, and I've temped quite a bit over probably up until about 3.5 years ago. So yeah, so it's been a bit of a kind of career. I never really knew what I wanted to do. Well, I did, and then changed my mind, and then I did again, and then changed my mind. So yeah, so my whole life has been, you know, there's been a lot of, I want to do this now, and start studying or working in the industry or whatever. But I'm bored now. So yes, there's a lot of that up until about 3.5 years ago. Now, to kind of set the scene, if you like, my husband, who has worked 20 plus years in the IT industry, had started probably about a year before that, had started his own company, taken on a couple of clients, and then found out very quickly that he couldn't do it all, and his zone of genius was not admin at all. So he'd been saying for a while that he wanted to take somebody on as admin. He'd kind of tried to, you know, nudge me in that direction, and I was like, no, we can't work together. You know, we can't live together. We can't work together. I don't really know anything about IT. No, and all this. And I think at the same time, I was getting a bit more fed up with where I was working at the time. It was fine, but it was just fine. And I was kind of like, you know, thinking, hey, where am I going to go next? You know, what am I going to do next, and all this. And I think he just kind of kept chipping away. And I said, right, okay, fine, we'll give it a go for, I can't even remember how long it was, maybe in 6 months or a year or whatever it was, and we'll see. Right, so, you know, with no particular hopes that it would be a massive success, but we would just take it on a day-to-day basis and almost month by month or whatever.
And he gets his stuff sorted in the meantime.
Exactly. So I came on board. I think the first day that I started, we met the accountant, so that was a bit of a baptism of fire. And yeah, I found out fairly quickly that the fines and the returns for things weren't being filed correctly or on time, or just it was a bit of a mess. So of course, that being my strength, I fairly quickly sorted that out. So no more fines. Or he would have ended up in jail. I don't know. Who knows? And quite quickly fell into it. Now, I think, had some interest in the STEM kind of community. So I've always been interested in astronomy. Always kind of had a subscription. Well, I say always. For the last 5 or 6 years, I've had a subscription to New Scientist. So I've always kind of been quite interested in things around those topics, but never really kind of got into it, and never really thought it was a career for me. And then, fairly quickly overnight, it was. So it is.
And what did you find different? What was different as you moved into tech and the tech world from what you've been doing previously?
I think so. I think it's really important to say, first of all, I felt a feeling of being invested in the company, because obviously it was our company, so it was mine and Dan's. And you stick to things a lot more, and you kind of you kind of put more of yourself into it. What I found different, I think, was just that I had no background in it. So, but very quickly, I felt, and maybe not locally, and maybe not kind of within a few local companies or whatever, but when we were dealing with companies in London and across the UK, I just had this feeling that I didn't I owned my directorship, if you like, my director role in the company, but I didn't feel that translated to other people's opinions of me. I didn't feel like people took me particularly seriously. I didn't feel that I didn't feel like I quite fit in. Like I was there, I was doing the job, and I was doing it on a day-to-day basis, but it wasn't. It just didn't feel particularly great all the time, especially dealing with clients, I think.
And so tell us a bit more about that. What was it? So you'd have clients sort of coming in that you'd be talking to, and how would that feel when you were, how would that feel about sort of that interaction with clients?
I mean, I think I probably papered over the cracks quite well, because I'm quite, I'm quite approachable, I'm quite friendly, I'm quite, gregarious or whatever you want to call it. So I can probably fake my way through it to some extent. And there was an element of I didn't care what other people thought, but at the same time, it did feel like it felt like I didn't have, I was director of a software company overnight.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like I quite found my place in that industry, in that world, within Sonix, and obviously that came with time. Especially that first year, it was a bit of a learning spike with everything, and it just didn't fit right. And yet I knew I wasn't invested in it. I knew I was, it was our company, but it didn't quite sit right. But I was willing to kind of set it out as well, because it was our company, if that makes sense.
So really, sort of that feeling of imposter syndrome. I don't know that I don't belong here. I don't really know how I fit here. And is there anything else sort of you'd add to that about kind of your experience of imposter syndrome?
I think, it was just, I just didn't feel like I fitted in. I felt like I was a bit of a fraud. And yet I didn't, it was literally 1 minute when I talked to Dan, or when we were talking to kind of, when we took on staff kind of in that first year as well. When I was talking to other people within the company, I was okay. I was kind of, I was quite relaxed and quite comfortable. and just learning on the job and just kind of going, with it, if you like. Whereas I think it did feel like if other people from other companies, especially kind of the bigger companies in London and that kind of thing, you did. I think I got it. Well, I didn't get the comment. I think my husband got the comment of, "Oh, well, is Kat working with you because she's your wife," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's because she's very good at what she does, and I think he's the one that jokes that he would be the one in jail without me being there. And of course, anybody can do an admin job, but anybody with 20 years plus experience can do his job. It's not. I don't think you can compare it. We're a good team.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important because I think we all do that thing of, somebody could do it better or somebody could do it as well as it. Because I used to say that a lot for the first years, like, anybody could do this. But yes, but I want you, or we're a good team. So, I don't want to kind of mess that up and all that. So yeah, so I think
going beyond that kind of what I'm hearing, it's like you say, it's so easy to kind of dismiss yourself and go, well, the things I bring, anyone can bring, and I don't fit here, so therefore I'm going to hide away and kind of hide those bits away as well and just dismiss them, and it's so easy to talk yourself down like that, isn't it?
I think so, and like I say, I probably did it quite a bit in that first year, and while I knew I was the director or a director, and while I knew I owned the company as much as Dan did, we shared literally 50-50, so it was literally, and it just took a little longer for my brain to kind of land with it a little bit. So I knew it academically, I knew what I brought to the company, and I knew how much I helped, especially in those first few days or weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a while for my brain to kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, you're valuable and you're, an asset to the company and all that as well.
And I talk about this quite a lot in some of the work I do with people. It's that difference between knowing it intellectually and kind of knowing it in your body and kind of working through that and kind of going, oh, right. And I think that's what we're going to, so you are still now in tech. So 3.5 years on, you're still there. And so something shifted. So what was it that changed?
I think I found my role. So you talked a little in that intro there about me being a co-founder of Women in Tech. So it was probably, so I joined in February 2017. So it was only a couple of months later. I think we were having coffee, me and a couple of friends, and we were just chatting about our lives and all that. And quite quickly realised that we were all in all different backgrounds and careers previously, but we were all in some semblance women in tech at that point. And we're like, oh, that's, isn't that a coincidence? Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
Isn't it? And then one of my very dear friends, Claire, who got me into all sorts of trouble, and has done for the past 12 years, said, oh, you should start a Women in Tech group, Kat. And I was like, oh, thanks for volunteering me. But of course, the seed was sown by that point. And all we did in those first few days, I set a Facebook group and a Twitter page and and all that, the kind of easy things to do to get people's attention. Invited a few friends, they invited a few more of their friends, and we're like, well, let's do an event and see how it goes, type thing. So we had an event in Cardiff where we were, where Sonix was actually based at the time, and they said, we're more than happy to support this. We'll hold an event for you. I think we got sponsorship for like the catering, and got a few speakers as well. and had a launch event on the 20th of June, 2017. And yeah, I mean, for the launch event, I think about 50 people turned up, which actually is not a bad, not a bad launch. I remember, because I think it was a really warm evening as well. So it was in the evening, obviously, like a Wednesday night, Tuesday, Wednesday night, or whatever it was. So it was midweek, so I'm sure plenty of people had other things to be doing, or kids or whatever. So yeah, so to get 50 people, and I think we realised that night that there was a need for it. So there was a need for people to feel supported, empowered, to feel like they didn't, if they didn't fit into that kind of traditional role, if you like, of a woman in tech, they were more than welcome in the group, and of course the traditional ones as well, but more for me personally, coming from a very non-traditional background, to be a woman in tech meant a massive amount, to be able to kind of facilitate that kind of event and that kind of a group and that kind of a support and empowerment and what have you. And I think for me, it was encapsulated, if you like, so at the end of that launch night, I was hanging around. I didn't really know, I was trying to look busy or something, I don't know. And a couple of the speakers had a few people kind of waiting to speak to them. And there's this guy to the side of me, and I wasn't sure if he was waiting to speak to somebody else, but I kind of just turned around and said, I hope you've had a good night, I hope you've enjoyed it. And he said, I'm trying not to say this without getting too emotional, because it still gets me 3.5 years later. He said, I think he said 7. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and this is exactly the type of group that I wanted to be a part of and have awareness of. And I was like, I almost hugged him. I almost hugged him, and I thought, no, don't kind of. But yeah, in that moment, I was like, okay, yeah, no, we're on the right path.
It's not just those immediate people; it's the ripple effect that goes beyond, and the inspiration you can give. It's amazing when you connect with that, isn't it? It's just And
I think that night I found my role in tech. As a woman in tech, and I love being a director of Sonix Software, and I love doing everything else that I'm doing, but to be co-founder of Women in Tech, where I can actually, I've got the skills, I've got the talent to get people together. So I call myself a facilitator quite often, to facilitate meetings, facilitate events, facilitate people getting together, and to facilitate conversations, facilitate the interviews that we've been doing recently since lockdown started. We've been doing women tech interviews just to get people kind of talking amongst each other. So I really feel, and I think that for me it felt like it changed overnight. I felt like I belonged in the tech industry, and I know now that even with the people in London, I call them the folks in London, I can own, absolutely, I'm a director of Sonix, but I'm also co-founder of Women in Tech Cymru, and it's not that one is more important than the other, but it just feels like it's more me, it's more me for sure.
And the thing I'm hearing in that is that kind of connection with the mission, the bigger purpose, and the inspiration you can bring to other people, which kind of settled it. But then I'm just kind of thinking back to what you're saying about that nudge from friends, and how kind of sometimes it's friends that see our strengths and see kind of what we have the potential to do, that can nudge us out of that feeling of I don't belong here. And that's just sort of such a lovely story about how it's kind of evolved for you.
Yeah, I think, as I say, Claire is a really dear friend of mine. So more than once, she's encouraged me to do things that I wouldn't necessarily, not necessarily that I wouldn't have thought about it, but I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have taken a step to do it. So I would have gone, oh yeah, no, that's a nice idea, and forgot about it. But because somebody else has said it, and then because somebody, like Claire, who's, like I say, a really good friend, they said, I think you'd be very kissable. I was like, no, do you know? Great, ha ha ha. And then 4 months later, there we are at the launch event. So yeah, so just got a lot to answer for.
So just picked up. So Becky's in, watching her and giving you some lovely feedback. Women in Tech is great. So there you go.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so you set that up, and then and that had quite a big impact on you. So what did that help you realize about your strengths and what you had to bring here into the tech world in particular?
I think it kind of helped me, as I said earlier, own my stuff. I think it helped me realize that I didn't, because I think I'd made the mistake, and I really should know better. I'd made the mistake when I first started, thinking that I had to be like everyone else. That I had to, I had to be a techie. I had to be, I had to know about Python, or I had to know, whatever it was, about it within STEM. That's not my strength. That's not my strength. My strength is bringing people together, being a bit bossy sometimes, and getting things arranged and delegating and what have you. But I think, yeah, for me, it's realizing that actually I don't need to be like everyone else to still belong in the tech world, and I think, like you say, that changed overnight for me. So I felt like I was trying to be, this very professional director of Sonix Software, as best I could, and and wearing black when we were in meetings, so I could feel a bit more official or professional or whatever it was, and not moving too much, and not kind of not doing too much, not kind of saying too much, but because then people would find me out fairly quickly. So just sitting and just being friendly, but being
just
letting,
being withdrawn and really
well, and just let, because and I think it's a really important thing that I kind of not realized because it's always been true, but I think this thing of even if I started studying software now, I will never catch up to Dan, ever. He's got 20 plus years of experience on me, and like, don't get me wrong, I have no interest in it whatsoever, particularly.
You want to,
However,
you want to as well.
exactly. However, even if I was interested in it, I will never catch him up. I will never. So to compare myself to Dan, and he ever compared himself to me or compared me to him, or or whatever. But I think it's just so important for me to realize that and go, actually, I can't catch up with people who have however many years of experience. I can't catch up with people who've known since they were 18 that they wanted to be in the tech world.
Yeah.
We are where we are. It is what it is. So what can I do now? What can I do from now on that will help? And I know for a fact that I've helped. Like, from that gentleman at that launch event to various people coming up and saying, this is exactly what we need. It's been lovely. Thank you so much for and it's not just me. There's a team behind Women in Tech. It's not just me leading the way or whatever. It's yes, I can be bossy. I can be a bit like, let's do this, and then delegate everything to everyone else. But but I think it's really important to realize that I can't compare myself to anyone else. I will always lose, however much, whatever the context. I'm more than likely going to lose,
Yeah. Well, so and they're on their journey. You're on. They're probably there comparing themselves to you and going, "Well, I can't do what she's doing," and that's the thing that we don't see.
Yeah, maybe not, but it's not. That's not. Yeah, that's not what's important. It's just that I know who I am. I know my strengths are being able to organise events and being able to get people together and being able to share what we do and being able to, think of things that we can do during lockdown when we can't have real life events.
Yeah.
So it's not about knowing, like I say, about Python or UiPath or Blue Prism or whatever we do in Sonix, at the time. It's about actually me showing up as me. And that's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, that's lovely. And the thing that I'm intrigued about, because what you haven't talked about at all is Geeky Girl coaching. So where did that come from? What happened there?
If you'd said to me, 5 years ago, that I would be the director of a software company, that I would be co-founder of Women in Tech Cymru, and I would be a life coach, I would have laughed at you and then run away crying because my life was a bit, like you find me in a corner somewhere crying because my life was a bit, and it wasn't, it was awful. It was just a bit boring, because I was stuck in that 9 to 5 job mentality, if you like, and had been for the previous however many years. And it's helped me really well in a lot of ways. But I think the minute I started with Sonix, the minute I set up Women in Tech Cymru, the minute I started Geeker Girl coaching, I knew, I keep saying I should have done this 10 years ago,
Yeah.
However, like I say, we are where we are. So so I think Geeker Girl coaching came from, where did it come from? I think kind of side by side, and it was coincidence, and yet it wasn't. It was fate. I had been, exactly. I had been introduced to a group called, now called Simply Sisters, but at the time it's called Damsels in Success, through leader Michelle Graham. I don't even know how she came out on my radar. She was just on my radar on Facebook somehow. Then I added her, and then I think she messaged me saying, we have monthly meetings in Cardiff, and we could all meet together and hug each other and all sorts. Can you imagine these things? And she said, how about you come? I think we'd started chatting about kind of October, November time, so about this time back 4 years ago. And I said, I can't this month, can't this month. And I think I decided to go in January 2017, and actually took a day off from where I was working. It's just like, it feels so alien to me now when I say that. Having to ask for permission to take a day off and all this. Anyway, so I did that, and it was only a morning kind of group session thing, and I just remember sitting there thinking, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is, to be supported by other women who know exactly what I'm going through or have been through it themselves. Most of them were kind of business owners, in all sorts of contexts. I was like, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I want. I want to be able to take a morning off to, to go and be supported by other women and support other women. And I don't know. I think it was probably, as I say, side by side with Dan chipping away, like, come and join Sonix, come and join Sonix, come and join Sonix. And I think within that week of going to that meeting, I handed in my notice, and was finished. So by the next meeting, I can say I've got my job and I'm going, I'm going to be an entrepreneur or whatever. And I think I started on that route. So I, always had the support of Simply Sisters, and realised as well. Sorry, this is a very long answer to your question. I'd always been interested in self-development, so I've always been interested in reading books like The Alchemist, years ago, and Stop Thinking, Start Living. Anyway, a whole host of books that are just really interested, but never, I don't really know why now, but 2020 and all that. I think I never realised that it was an actual job that I could do, if you know what I mean. So I never ever thought that I could be a coach. Like I didn't even know a coach existed before
Yeah.
it existed.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even know. Like I knew about business coaches and executive coaches and sports coaches and that kind of thing, but I never kind of realised that. But because I always thought, when I was reading those books, I always thought that they were authors, that had a lot of knowledge and that had a lot of insight and lived a lot of life or whatever. And I just didn't realise. Yeah, I just didn't know. So it's a thing.
Like, people how they're doing that,
Yeah.
and helping people, and
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous when I say it now because I know so much now. But yeah, at the time I just didn't. And then I think as I kept going to the meetings, as I kept developing myself anyway as a person, within women tech and within kind of Sonix Software, I just realised that's what I want to do. I want to help people because I was on the path anyway to some extent with women tech. I wasn't necessarily coaching one-to-one, but it's a group coaching session, if you like. At times of getting people to share their stories and just actually realise that other people are in the same boat or have felt the same way. Because a lot of the time that's what coaching is, especially group coaching. Yeah, I think so. I decided beginning of last year, so that would be 2019, end of 2018, beginning of 2019. I decided that I was going to give it a go, that I wanted to be a coach, that I wanted to be a life coach. So I think I took 4 beta clients on to start. Actually, no, I'll tell you a funny story. So I was being mentored one-to-one at the time, and I'd said this months previously that I wanted to be a coach, and I didn't really know how to go about it, and did I need qualifications, and did I need this, that, the other, and whatever. And I remember, I think it was the last session that we had, she was like, "You're ready, right? Just give it a go, find 4 clients, and just give it a go. So I want you to post on Facebook now that you're looking for beta clients, and you're going to be starting next month," or whatever it was, right? So all the details. So I was like, okay. My heart was down on my feet. Like, I'm not massively a nervous person. I can talk to anyone. I'm okay with public speaking. Like, I can ramble forever, as you can probably tell by now. But so it's like, okay, what the hell am I going to say? So I walked from the cafe that I was meeting at, walked back to the car. I was like, right, okay, if I don't do it now, I'm just going to check it out. So I was like, right, hi, I'm Catrin's sister. I'm going to be coaching today. I'm looking for like, I can hear it now. It's on my highlights on Facebook, and I watch it back every now and again. Oh my gosh, you absolute idiot. But anyway, so I posted it, and I texted my coach at the time, and I said, "Oh, I've done it," kind of thing. And I have one of these cars that if somebody sends me a text message, it comes up on the screen in the car. So I was driving along, going home now after my excitement, nervousness, whatever it was, and this message comes up from Andrew saying, "I can't see it." I was okay, or maybe I haven't posted it right, or there's no signal or whatever. I was like, okay, if I don't do it now, I'm just going to check it out. So I pulled over, and I was like, "Why is it not?" So I sent her a message, and I said, "Oh, I've done it again now. I'm not sure what happened the first time." Well, I could see it, but obviously she couldn't. So I was like, "Oh, maybe it was just a signal thing or something." So off I went again. Driving. Got a text message. "I still can't see it. What's wrong? Like, what's happening?" Like, it was a 20-minute journey, right? It took about an hour to get home. Right? Well, I pulled over again. I said, "What the hell?" I was trying, I could see it twice now on my Facebook page. What the hell? I'm gonna have to do it again at this rate, you know. And then I realised, and I still don't know how I did it. And it's never happened since then. It never happened before, and it's never happened since then. My privacy setting had been set to only me.
Oh, right.
So it wasn't even that my friends could see it or whatever. Like, nobody could see it. And it just, for me, it's such a lesson, isn't it, about visibility. There's something there about visibility, about being seen, about being vulnerable, about acting, you know, about kind of, yeah. So after that hurdle, I was kind of okay because I've gone through the trauma for an hour trying to post blooming video to get this right. And yeah, it just kind of, and I think, so when I first started, I still remember my first client, and actually she still comes back for a few sessions every now and again. It's brilliant. I you know, it was an hour session. Had my notebook ready, you know, pens, you know, new pens and all this. And you know, we had a session and whatever. And so she had, 3 left after that. I just remember sitting in the car. Exactly what I want to do. It's exactly what I want to do. You know, and I never had that feeling. Like I was vaguely interested in stuff, and I kind of like pursuing different kind of, you know, avenues, if you like. But I never had like that just in my being, in my truly, like, this is what I want to do.
And isn't it lovely that unfolding of kind of taking the leap from into tech, which is kind of that
Number one, yeah.
And then friend nudging and going, well, why don't you kind of set up a big kind of organization and then, oh yeah, I could do this. And then, okay, why don't you take a leap and really put yourself out there, even though you're trying not to.
Okay.
And then getting that, oh wow, this is it. This is the thing. This is the thing I've been looking for. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
And if I hadn't taken that leap, that first leap, Sonix, I wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
You know, there's no doubt. And maybe it would be a different path, and it would, you know, I'd still be coaching in some semblance, but yeah, if I hadn't taken that first step, I wouldn't be here where I am now. If I hadn't taken that second step, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, that leap. And it's just, there's I absolutely love it. There's a video by, I think, Steve Harvey. I don't know if he's a presenter in kind of American TV. He does all sorts of things. I think he does like the Family Fortunes version of on American TV. So he's kind of a bit of a comedian, but he's almost, you know, like a presenter and a kind of TV host. And he has a video, and I share it every year. It comes up on my nose, and I share it every time. And he's like, and I think I saw it before I'd gone to Sonix and all this. And he's like, if you want anything in life, you have to jump.
Yeah.
Have to jump. You know, there is no other way. There's no other way around it. There's no avoiding it. There's no, you know, whatever it was that he said. You have to jump. And the first few times that you jump, you will hit. You know, you're on the edge of a cliff, and you will hit the cliff quite a few times on the way down the first time. But then you'll find your wings.
Yeah.
And you will soar.
Yeah. And your wings up there.
Yeah. You know.
So I love there's a lovely analogy of like the it's Michael Neal uses this, but I think he's come from somewhere else. But the idea you're flying by the seat of your pants, but it's kind of like you don't realize that your pants have wings. They will they will catch you when you will fly. You've just got to take that leap to start with. And so I'm just conscious of time a little bit, but the thing I wanted to really ask, and it kind of follows this, is that, so what advice would you give to anyone who's, and I guess it follows, doesn't it? But what advice would you give to anyone that's new to tech or who feels like an imposter?
Learn from me and be yourself, right? Don't try and fit in, because it never works. Never, ever, 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 ever works. It's just, you are enough as you are right now, right? And you can learn things, and you can get qualifications, and you can, you know, and you can build up networks, and you can. But if you don't start now, where are you in 20 years' time? You know, I should have started this 10 years ago, at least 10 years ago. But I wasn't where I am now.
You don't start now. Yeah.
You know? I don't know the things. I didn't know the things I know now that I did 10 years ago. You know, so there's there's a bit of I have to let that go. But I think if you're passionate and you're interested and you just want to give it a go, just do it. What have you got to lose? Especially I think now, especially now. We're all still living through this global pandemic, and we all have our individual kind of circumstances that we are living through as well. So some may have kids, some may not, some may be working, some may have lost their jobs or whatever. But if you don't start now, if a global pandemic doesn't get you to set your priorities right and actually do what you want to do rather than what you think you should do, what you think is the sensible, logical, academic, correct answer, then I don't know. And I think, as part of my coaching, that seems to be coming up a lot at the moment, So I think for the first year, there was a steady kind of stream of clients that I had. But I think probably since about April, I think my coaching business just seems to have just exploded with people who are wanting more out of their lives, not necessarily just their careers, but just kind of want to feel a bit more, want to feel like they're living a bit more, want to let go of old habits that are keeping them, small and back and whatever, and there will be some career stuff in there as well. But it just feels like people are ready for more now out of their lives, because it's been a bit of a mess.
Showing up with you is that's the thing that really it's kind of wanting to jump out of that, come out of the chrysalis and be the butterfly, being who you are. And not being scared of that, that's
and it is scary, I'm testament to that those first year was probably scary for me. Looking back, I used to cry when I had to send an invoice because I was so scared of doing it wrong and making a mistake or adding an extra zero or not adding enough zeros or something. I used to be paralyzed with fear, but I still did it. And I didn't now. I'm like, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake, It's not the end of the world. But at the time it did, At the time it massively did. So just do it. Go for it. Just do it.
So I'm going to kind of pull this together, but the final question is how can people get in touch with you? How can they find out more about what you do?
Okay. So I have a Facebook page, Geeker Coaching. So feel free to add me on there. I'm also on Instagram.
We'll share that at the bottom of here as well.
Yes, exactly. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. So kind of get in touch in any way. I'm still working on a website. I shouldn't really say that as a director of software company, but it's
We're always working on our websites.
It's been on my list for so long now. It's in my head.
We need a techie to come along and
well, it's not even the tech because do that in time. But it's just the content. It's me. It's all me not being able to get my stuff together. And I have at the moment I have a 3-month plan. So if somebody is looking to work with me and make real change, because I love the kind of standalone sessions that I have one-to-one. To make real change, you need that 3-month support. You need that 3 months to change habits, to be able to kind of really understand what's actually going on, rather than surface level, diagnosing, if you like. So if we start now, by 3 months, that's what mid-January, kind of, start 2021 with a real kind of feeling of empowerment, I think. For me, I think, you know, and it's harder to just say it because people don't necessarily get it. But I think, you know, I really keep hearing it from my clients. It's that I'm giving them empowerment to be themselves, to be okay with who they are right now, because that's as important as anything. You know, whatever changes you may want to make in the future, you know, accepting yourself now and liking yourself now is just as important as any future kind of plans or changes that you make. So yeah, so you know, I'm absolutely available for 3 minutes. And let's just have a chat and just let's see if we match. And yeah, I'd love to hear. Anyway.
So we'll make sure your details are shared in the comments so that people can look at that. And yeah, thank you so much. It's been really interesting, and I love the message that, and this is one of the reasons for inviting you to come on this, is that whole, how did you overcome imposter syndrome? And the thing that I got from it is it's by seeing that by showing up as you, how much more you brought, and how much just seeing those strengths and seeing those strengths coming out, how much difference you make to the tech world just by being you. And that's just such a lovely message.